So, Amanda, it's great to see you again. Congratulations to the both of you for Devil May Care.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
So, first of all, how does it feel that that this is being showcased? Right? Was it for the SYFY Animation Network here?
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty amazing because it is. It's always great to work in a programming block that's on at midnight because they let you go a little crazy and weird because they know that if you're awake at midnight, maybe your brain isn't working at 100%. So they're like, let's push a little further. Let's make this a little bit edgier. And then you do what they ask. They're like, whoa, not that edgy. I'm like, all right. Well.
Yeah, if you're up that late, you're up to no good.
Yeah. Oh.
So that begs the question: what limits do they put for you? Because it's still kind of a network, channel.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
not a lot.
Yeah, not a lot. In fact, I expected them to bleep a lot of our profanity, and they were like, "Nah, let's run with it." And it's kind of great. It's kind of freeing. Maybe they should have said no more often. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first time, Doug, that we turned in a script, they were like, I really feel like you guys could push the adult theme a little bit harder. And so it was like, oh, okay, well, hold my beer. I'll be right back. I think one of the interesting things was like the themes and the ideas and a lot of the visuals, you could really, really push it very, very far. And then there were certain areas where S&P over the NBC Uni side would kind of grab onto one thing that they thought was inappropriate, and we'd go rounds and rounds on just like really small details. One of the things in particular that you'll see in the pilot is Devil has two forms. Sometimes he's in a human form, and sometimes when he gets irritated or annoyed, he kind of hulks out into this demon form, and he has a patch of fur in front. And I can't tell you how many conversations we had describing this as a patch of fur and not pubic hair, because there's no genitals there. It's just fur. And what does pubic hair look like versus what does fur look like? And how many different ways can we manscape Devil to make it clear that it wasn't pubes on the screen?
Yeah. And we got paid to have that conversation.
We got paid. It was a highlight of my professional career.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Would have been nice to be a fly on the wall there to see how long that conversation actually took.
So many emails. I mean, there was a design sheet, I'm not kidding you, of like 20 different ways that you could sculpt a fur patch to make it not look like pubes.
Someday we'll come out with our whole line of merkins for sale. All the designs are ready.
It could double too if you wanted to put like a goatee on or a merkin on, whatever you need. It's adhesive. It'll stick to anything.
That is great. So Douglas, tell us where the original idea came from for Devil May Care. What sparked you? Was it a bad dream? What's going on?
No, the very, very original idea was the way that the cliche of the devil will grant you a favor if you promise to come to hell with your soul and all that. That sounded like a fun way to make fun of all those shows from the 80s that were the problem of the week, where like Knight Rider or 18, they're like, oh, whose uncle do we have to rescue this episode? And like, wouldn't it be funny if the devil has to do that every episode? And he has no powers on Earth, so we see him beaten up by goons and thrown through a plate glass window by some evil biker gang or something like that. And I talked to Amanda about that. She's like, that is really cool. What can we do with that won't make it boring by the third episode? And I was like, well, that's really rude. I don't appreciate being spoken to that way.
I quit.
But it kind of grew from there in really great ways. But that was the original base thought.
Wow. And then for the animation style, could you basically how did you decide this type of animation style where because animation is across the board now these days. We could have gone to 3D animation or cartoon animation, but this is basically like basic 2D animation. I think I want to describe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2D animation. It's a traditional TV pipeline. We didn't really employ any CG, but you know, Psyop as a studio doesn't have a house look. And I think you look at a lot of shows, whether they come from networks or studios, and they have a very similar look. You know, Bob's Burgers looks like The Great North, and American Dad looks like Family Guy. And you can see this thread, this DNA with these creators. So what Doug and I did was we went through a whole pile of artists that we work with regularly. We pulled some reference. We worked with one of our design directors internally at Psyop and did a character lineup with this awesome designer named Mr. Chris Martin in London. And he really helped us find the tone, the look of the show. And one of the things that was super important to Doug and I also was that the world would have a lot of visual jokes in it. So signage and props, there had to be detail in there so that if you watch it more than once, you'll catch all these really funny jokes. So that was another thing that we wanted to make sure was, you know, included in the design.
Yeah. And we took a lot of pains to make sure that, yes, it's animated, but it's not cartoony. Like there was always that that desire on a lot of the creative designers to say, okay, you've got this scene where you need a monster. You mean like this? And it would be way over the top. And it was like, well, no, we're kind of grounded. Like this is like, you know, it's gentrified hell. It's, you know, it's not going to be horns everywhere. And we kind of went back and forth and really nailed this down to something that we think like covers all the bases really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tell me about this new hell, because it's almost like it's very livable. I mean, no worse than what we're going through right now.
Well, imagine you're doing the same thing for thousands of years, like Devil was doing with all this torture and fire and brimstone. You got to be tired of that. Like, I can't do the same thing for more than a week before I'm like, I'm done. So we kind of thought about who is Devil? What is he trying to accomplish? And what would be a redesign for the entire dimension that would get that across? And I don't want to give away too much of what his motivations are, but you'll see what the end result in his mind is. And social media fits into that. Social media was like the one thing that he didn't think he needed, but then when Bean shows up, he's like, oh my God, that is what we need. And that kind of starts the show.
I loved it how you actually started off the show with this Beans guy, but then I had issue with the name Beans because I thought that was the name of a dog or something like that.
That is the name of a dog.
Is it really?
Yeah. She's sulking. She just went to the vet, so she's ignoring me right now.
I was like going, why is this character like has a dog's name or something like that? So I guessed it correctly.
Well, there's actually two Beans that it originates from. Doug's got a Beans too.
Yeah, I worked with a man at Robot Chicken named Beans, and that just really made me think that any word is acceptable as a name. Like you can name somebody Chair, and it sounds weird at first, but then you're like, yeah, his name is Chair, whatever. And then, you know, years after I worked with Beans the man, I'm working with Amanda, and there's Beans the dog, and I'm like, yes, Beans. And that I think it at first that was just a placeholder joke, but then it just comes like, yeah, Beans, whatever, Beans.
You know what? It works because I remember it well. So that is terrific. One of my favorite characters on the show, and I know it's random because you somehow chose President McKinley to be in hell. I mean, you could have chose any president that would be in hell, but you chose McKinley. So I want to know why McKinley, because the only thing I know about McKinley was that he got shot, and that was about it.
Well, you know, it's really funny to me that there's about 20 presidents that all just wear black jackets with black hats, and that's all you know about them. Like if you show me Zachary Taylor or any of these guys, you're like, yeah, black hat, black jacket, that's all I know about you. I have no idea. So I just started looking through Wikipedia at these guys to see if any of them had a spark that we could use. And when you go to McKinley's page on Wikipedia, his picture is like, is like he's staring at you with this resting face that was so intense. And I'm like, okay, you're it. Leave me alone. You're the guy. And it was just a gift that he was the president during the Spanish-American War, because now we can just throw in a lot of things that he hates Spain. He's got a grudge. He really came to life through through his hatred of the King of Spain. It was great.
Yeah, he was enough of a blank slate that, you know, you had some hooks, but you could still make him whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
Now, was the original intent for the show to make it as sort of like short animated shorts as 10 minutes long, or did you actually try to do with different formats?
Well, this is kind of the day and age where so much of the great, not even the kid stuff, the animation is 15 minutes. It's short attention span theater. I think Adult Swim kind of broke the mold with that, where all their shows are just 15 minutes, you know, get them in, get a lot of them in. And we had no problem with that, because it actually created a format where there's no dead space. Like, we don't have the luxury of being boring. It's like every moment's gotta be tight. You're telling a story, so you gotta fit in as much as you can. So this 15-minute format, I think, serves us really well. I don't think there's ever a point in the episode where you say, oh, well, this is a lull, we'll change the channel now. Because it's like, how do we fit all this stuff into our 15 minutes? Get it done, get it done. And I could be wrong. You know, if nobody watches the show, I guess I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's really something that keeps your attention the whole way through.
Does the writing the jokes make it more challenging because you try to hit, like, you know, at least a double, a triple, or a home run with all the jokes within the 10 to 15 minutes?
I don't think it was that much of a challenge. I think sometimes when you needed exposition, people would say, this isn't funny, this is exposition. And then you go back and you say, all right, how can I throw a wiener joke or something in here where he's explaining this thing? But these characters are so weird that even when they speak casually to each other, the way they express their thoughts, I always thought was funny.
Amanda, because they're shorter animation, does that mean Psyop could actually spit these episodes out a lot faster?
It was a smoking fast schedule. It was crazy fast. We actually partnered with a studio called Titmouse to do the shot production. So we kind of ran like the creative directorship out of Psyop, and then Titmouse has a studio in Vancouver, so they're able to get tax credits, and they just had a more appropriate pipeline than what we do in LA and New York. I do think, though, that keeping it to a shorter episode, you know, we got the show out really fast, really, 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 really fast. So I think there's something to be said for that too.
And plus, we just enjoyed saying Titmouse. It was great.
That is an interesting name for a company. But how many episodes did you guys actually have planned for? And is there an overall story arc for something like this?
Well, originally, SYFY said, let's play with this as 1-minute shorts. And so we wrote up, I don't even remember how many at this point, a bunch of 1-minute shorts. And they said, oh, I mean, I have to assume the conversation on their end went, oh, this is fantastic. It should be real. This should be a real show. So their shows last about 6 or 7 episodes. We have 7 episodes for season 1. And is there an overall arc? There is not, but there is continuity. Like, someone might say something in episode 2, which will be relevant in episode 6. And it is not something that is distracting, where you'll be in episode 6 and be like, I don't know what's going on, I never saw episode 2. But there's clearly the idea that these characters are alive and living their lives as you're watching the show. And
the 7th episode is a to be continued too.
Yes. So if you guys watch the finale and have any ideas, please email me. We'll continue it.
So you're already planning for a 2nd season already.
Yeah, we set ourselves up.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of our trick. It's like, you know, if we end this on a cliffhanger, they have to renew us. So we'll see if that plan works.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
And then one more thing is, could you talk about your voice actors, Alan and Asif, why they're perfect for
God, they're so good.
So good. Well, it's we kind of had nothing to do with it. We were going through voices and actors who we could approach. And when we heard Asif, we were like, that's it. And it was kind of a spit take. You're like, that's our guy. Mm. And Alan, my joke is that we don't have to write as hard with Alan, because what he does is just so amazing that you can kind of lean back and just let him make it awesome. I mean, you can hire Alan to be the voice actor for commercial for cotton balls, and it'll be the most amazing thing you've ever heard. So
yeah, he's a magical unicorn. So is Pamela Adlon.
Yeah. Oh my God, she's so great to work with. I just kind of want to
hang out with her and like bring her presents and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is excellent. Well, I love the show, but I'm going to wrap it up with one more question. I know I asked Amanda this a while ago, so she knows what the question is. But for basically, crazy times. We're talking virtual right now, mm-hmm. and what I would like to know is how you're staying creative and sane during times like this.
I find this to be very relaxing. I enjoy not showering for weeks on end. I enjoy sitting here working with no pants on and no one knows. It's just, aside from telling my kids to be quiet every 5 minutes because daddy's working, this isn't so bad. I mean, yes, it's a planet-wide tragedy, but I'm having a good time.
Yeah. And Amanda, you're still being sane, I assume.
There's very little that 3 bottles of wine can't handle.
Yeah.
Well, terrific. Hey, congratulations to the both of you for Devil May Care. I really enjoyed it. I wish it was longer, but then again, I guess my attention span isn't that long either. So I can't wait to check out the rest of the episodes, and crossing fingers for season 2.
Thank you. So much. All right. Take care, Greg. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.